In our last video, we talked all about your spiritual business foundations. In this video, we're going to dive right into budgeting for spiritual entrepreneurs. And I know this is a sore subject with not a lot of information. If you're excited to learn about budgeting as a spiritual entrepreneur, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up so we can get started. Hi, I'm Archield, guiding hardworking spiritual entrepreneurs to accelerate their business growth without working themselves into exhaustion. So we're going to look at the 3 simple steps to make so that you can run your spiritual business without a budget. And this not only goes for your spiritual business, but of course you are your business. So this extends into your life as well. Let's dive in. Number 1, know where you are. This can take, I believe, the longest because there's a lot of what I call come to Jesus moments here. You really got to know where you are. That means take a good long look at what kind of expenses do you have in your business? What kind of expenses do you have in your personal life that you are responsible for? And then look at what kind of assets do you have? What are your liabilities? Like, take a good hard look at your total financial situation. And once you have it all, not just intellectually done, but once you have it all down on paper, this is important, whether that paper is hard copy or electronic, so you can go back and reflect. And one of the things I would really love you to do, and make sure to write this down, when you're looking at your business expenses and your personal expenses, look for where you can make cuts, right? And how I do this is I'll look at each line item and I'll go, is this expendable or is it redundant? Right? Is this expendable or is this redundant? That's the first way to look at making cuts, because sometimes we're just doing things to do things. And I've found myself doing that a lot. Just to quote, be nice. And sometimes it's not the time for you to just be nice. There is a time for charity, but if your business has hit a plateau, if you're trying to grow right now, charity in this sense of just being nice by throwing someone some extra money isn't quite where we need to go yet. We'll get there, just wait. After you look at whether or not something is expendable or it's a duplicate, essentially, and I found a lot of duplicates in my business where I was paying for duplicate services I really didn't need. Just need to pick one and move on. The next thing I want you to look at is whether something sparked joy, to use a term. So, when you look at that line item, does it make you happy? Right? And I'm not talking about does it make you happy as you pay it, which of course you want to be grateful that you have the ability to pay that expense. But does it make you happy? Is there something that's going to happen directly because you paid that expense? Does it matter if it's something that makes you happy directly by paying, something that makes you happy in the future because you paid it, or something that happened in the past that made you happy and now you're paying it off? Does that make sense? All right. So before we move on to the second one, I want to be sure to invite you to Banish Business Overwhelm. This is a masterclass I'm running. It is free. You will get instant access when you go to banishbusinessoverwhelm.com so that you can learn some of the things that will help you so much in growing your business. And trust me, this whole thing about does something bring you pleasure is a big part. All right, so let's move on to step number 2. Know what you want, right? So we understand where we are. That was step number 1. Now in step number 2, we've got to know what we want. We need to know where we want to go. So what is your number? What is it that you need to bring in on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis? What is that number? Now, there's a whole lot of ways to calculate that number, and I'm not going to dive into that in this video, but know your number. You know what that chunk needs to be. And more importantly, know why. Why is that number your number, right? And make sure, so many times I hear people say, I want to make $100,000 a year. Why do you want to make $100,000 a year? Because that's a benchmark. That's a go-to number. Make sure whatever number it is that you pick is your number. Know why, not just because it's something someone told you that you should be making, but make sure it's a number that you actually want to bring in. Make sure it resonates with you and what you're trying to do for your life, your lifestyle, your family, your business, your clients. Make sure that number makes sense. Now, before I get to number 3, if you've been enjoying the first 2 tips, I hope you've been taking some notes, and definitely let me know in the comment which tip you think is going to help you the most, or if you've gone through a process like this, which of these tips have helped you in the past, and if you have another tip for us right now in the community. And of course, I want you to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, because we're still doing our spiritual growth hacking series. So we're growth hacking our businesses, people. And of course, if you happen to hang out over on Instagram, go ahead, take a picture. And go ahead and tag me so that I can shout you out. Especially let me know what you've enjoyed the most about this video. In the next video, we're going to talk all about how to get reliable income in your spiritual business. Fits in pretty nicely, right? So let's look at the third simple step. Our third simple step is 10, 30, 30, 30. 10, 30, 30, 30. So what the heck is that? Now remember, I said this is about running your spiritual business without a budget, because budgets are hard, fixed. This amount goes here, this amount goes here, and we're paying off things like this. They're very fixed in their appearance. They're very fixed because they are built because people have income they know that's coming in every week, every other week, every month, or whatever it is. Whereas your income isn't so readily fixed in that way. So let's take a look at what we can do, and that's where 10, 30, 30, 30 comes into place. So what does it mean? Of course, the 10 is all about you saving money, you giving money to yourself first. Now, that's 10% of whatever comes in. So if you just sold a package, and let's say that package was $1,000. I'm throwing out round numbers for kind of easy math for myself, right? So let's say that package was $1,000. So that means that 10% is $100. And you're going to take that money and you're going to put in savings, or you're going to go and spend it. That $100 is yours to do whatever you want to with. Maybe you go out and buy new clothes. Maybe you go for a spa treatment. Whatever you want to do, that first 10% off the top goes directly to you. So what is a 30, 30, 30? Well, one of those 30s is your business expenses. You want to put aside 30% of whatever came in for your business expenses. Now, on $1,000, like I said, we've already got $100 off that you went and did whatever you wanted, right? Maybe it went to savings, whatever you want to do. You're now taking $300, that's 30%, right? We're taking that $300 and we're putting it aside for business expenses. This can be your taxes, this could be your overhead, this could be to pay your VA, this is whatever it is. That's what we're putting it aside for. Then we have the next 30%, that goes to your personal expenses, remember? Business and personal expenses from step 1. This is going to your personal expenses. So maybe this is paying your rent or your mortgage. Maybe this is paying on your car note. Maybe this is paying for food. Like whatever it is, it goes into that personal expense pot. Now the last 30%, I call it the slush fund, right? It can fund new parts of your business. It might fund paying off some personal expenses or medical expenses. It is there. It is like your rainy day fund. And that's what you're putting aside there. So in essence, what I'm saying to do is to make sure that 30%, or rather about 60%, is running your business and personal life. And you'll know as you look at those expenses from step 1, you'll know which one is a bigger amount of money, right? Is it the personal expenses? Is it the business expense? So take a look at that. For me, it's personal expenses. So I would take a look at that amount, and that becomes the 30%. That is my target every month. And that means that maybe I have more in my business expenses, so maybe I pay down some of my business debt, maybe I put that extra money into savings just for my business, and then I have the slush fund, right? That's for everything else, and of course I'm taking my 10% off the top. So if you're trying to figure out, like, what's the backwards math, Africa? I saw you do the forward math with the $1,000 product that was purchased or program that was purchased, but how do I do the backwards math? Okay, I'm gonna give it to you right now. And I've gotta use my notes, guys. Gotta use notes. Okay, so the math. So once you know what that 30% is, and I'll probably have to do something next to my head so you can see numbers. You realize that your business expenses every month, and this is an example, is $1,000. And your personal expenses are $4,000. So you know you've got to base things off of those personal expenses at $4,000. So $4,000, multiply that times 3 so that you know each of those buckets have the right amount of money. So that ends up being $12,000. So the problem is, what is that 10%, right? Because we're trying to figure out totally what do we need to bring in. So this is how you figure it out. You do the 12,000 divided by 90, because that's 90% of the whole 100%. And we're doing ratios here. So we're going to do an equal sign, and then we're going to have x divided by 10. I told you this is math. And so when we cross multiply, we have 90x equaling 120,000. You're like, that's a lot of money. But we're dividing it by 90. Okay, so we divide that 120 by 90, and x ends up being $1,333.36. You know, the 3's go into infinity. And so when you add that back into the 12,000 that you know you need in the other buckets, that's when you get your total number. Now that you know how to do the math, you can really get on this. So I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. What are your numbers? Did you find it easy to figure out how you can run your spiritual business now without a budget? How to really ebb and flow with what happens? So with that, I say peace, joy, love to you.